Welcome to episode 288 of OTD, your daily dose of soccer history by 17 Laws Guy. Today we'll be talking about Colombian football played in cities hit by an earthquake earlier this week. My heart goes out to everyone affected. It is August 15, 1948, 2 days after Sweden won Olympic gold in London. Today we're outside Medellín in Colombia. It's Sunday morning. Atlético Municipal against Universidad. 15 minutes in, Rafael Serna scores a penalty. Carlos Rodriguez adds another. Atlético Municipal win 2-0. And that first goal from Serna is something much bigger than the opening goal of a match. It is the first goal ever scored in Colombia's professional football league. Because today is Fecha Uno. 10 clubs, a new national championship, and the beginning of an institution that will give Colombia Santa Fe, Millonarios, Atlético Nacional, America, Deportivo Cali, Junior, and then El Dorado, Di Stéfano, narco football, continental glory, national team rebirth, and some of the most extraordinary football history anywhere in the world. But how did we get here? Colombia had been playing football for decades, but Colombian football had developed regionally. The first major governing structure grew out of the Caribbean coast. The Liga del Atlántico was founded in 1924, and Colombia entered FIFA in 1936. A national team followed, but there was a problem. Who actually controlled Colombian football? Barranquilla, Bogotá, Medellín, Cali? By 1939, there was already a battle over whether the federation should remain in Barranquilla or move to Medellín. In 1944, leagues from Cundinamarca, Valle de Cauca, and Antioquia challenged the existing leadership. FIFA backed the Barranquilla-based ADE Football. So when Colombia entered the South American Championship in 1945, the national side was eventually a team drawn from the Caribbean coast. This was not yet one integrated football country. It was a collection of increasingly ambitious regional football cultures, arguing over who should run the game. And underneath that argument, another revolution was coming. Money. Colombian clubs wanted professionalism. Players increasingly wanted to be paid. Foreign touring teams showed what football could become as entertainment. In January 1948, Bogotá staged an international tournament involving River Plate and Vélez Sarsfield. One Vélez match reportedly attracted around 12,000 paying spectators, an extraordinary gain in Colombia at the time. So the message was obvious. There was a market here. People would pay to see good football. But then Colombia itself exploded. On April 9, 1948, liberal political leader Jorge Eliezer Gaitán was assassinated in Bogotá, and the Bogotazo followed. Rioting devastated a large part of the capital, and Colombia entered the terrible period remembered as La Violencia, years of partisan bloodshed in which the football story cannot sensibly be separated from the political story. The professional league was not created because of Gaitán's murder. The idea already existed. But suddenly a national mass spectacle looked useful in a country desperately short of shared experiences. Even the Colombian Federation's own history notes that the professional project met far less resistance in the political turmoil after Gaitán's assassination and was viewed favorably by the government. Two men now become especially important: Humberto Salcedo Fernández, Salcedo, associated with America de Cali, and Alfonso, Señor of Millonarios in Bogotá. In late June, representatives of ambitious clubs gathered in Barranquilla and created the División Mayor de Fútbol Colombiano, or Dimayor. And notice the geography. Señor came from Bogotá, Salcedo from Cali. Jorge Osorio Cavadit, another important member of the first leadership group, came from Atlético Municipal in Medellín. So this was not simply Bogotá taking football away from everybody else. It was professional clubs from Colombia's major cities challenging an older regional structure. But Bogotá did win something important. Dimayor established its headquarters there. A new center of gravity had appeared. Now they needed an actual national league. And that was not trivial in Colombia. Mountains divide the country. Distances are enormous. Avianca reportedly gave the clubs a 45% reduction in airfares. Professional football in Colombia would literally have to fly. 10 teams entered the first championship. Santa Fe and Millonarios from Bogotá, America and Deportivo Cali, Independiente Medellín and Atlético Municipal, Junior from Barranquilla, Deportes Caldas and Once Deportivo from Manizales, and Universidad, a Bogotá club that played its early home fixtures in Pereira before returning to the capital. That is why some contemporary histories call today's opponent Universidad de Pereira and others Universidad de Bogotá. Same club, but different temporary home. And now the match. Atlético Municipal are the club we know today as Atlético Nacional. They play Universidad at the San Fernando Hippodrome near Medellín. Yes, a racetrack. Rafael Serna scores that first professional goal from the penalty spot after 15 minutes. Carlos Pajayo Rodriguez makes it 2-0. Colombian professional football is underway. And across the country, Fecha Uno comes alive. Junior beat Deportivo Cali 2-0. Millonarios announced themselves by destroying Once Deportivo 6-0. Deportes Caldas drawn 1-1 with Santa Fe. America beat Independiente Medellín. A national league now exists where previously there had been regional football worlds. And the first season delivers a surprise. Millonarios look spectacular. The Argentine forward Alfredo Castillo scores an absurd 31 goals in 18 matches. But Millonarios finish only fourth. The first champion is Santa Fe. 12 wins, 3 draws, 3 defeats, 57 goals, 27 points. Junior finished 4 points behind them. The first star in Colombian professional football belongs to the red half of Bogotá. But so what? Well, 1948 creates the machine that makes 1949 possible. Because 1 year later, everything goes crazy. Dimayor and other football rupture over money and authority. Meanwhile, footballers in Argentina and Uruguay are fighting their own battles over pay and labor rights. And Colombia realizes that operating outside the normal FIFA transfer structure creates an extraordinary opportunity. Adolfo Peranera comes, then Nestor Rossi, then Alfredo Di Stéfano. Millonarios become the Ballet Azul. Other clubs raid Argentina, Uruguay, Peru, and beyond. Even British stars arrive. We told that whole extraordinary gold rush story in episode 184, El Dorado. But the important thing today is this. El Dorado could not happen until Dimayor existed. So August 15, 1948 builds the marketplace. 1949 blows the doors off it. Eventually FIFA and South American football close the loophole. The 1951 Lima Pact brings Colombia back towards the international system and provides for those irregularly signed foreign stars eventually to return to the original associations, with a decisive deadline in October 1954. The gold rush ends, the crowds fall, the imported stars leave, and Colombian football has to discover what survives when the circus moves on. And that produces a strange contrast. Colombia built one of the most glamorous leagues in the world before it built an internationally successful national team. The country didn't reach its first World Cup until 1962. Millonarios were Colombia's first Copa Libertadores representatives in 1960 and reached the semi-finals. But Colombia waited nearly 3 more decades for a club to actually win South America, Atlético Nacional, 1989. And as we discussed in episode 198, that breakthrough came inside another Colombian political reality. The extraordinary football of Maturana, Iquita, and Andrés Escobar, living alongside cartel money, intimidation, and violence. Colombian football had changed. Their relationship had not. Football kept living inside the country around it. La Violencia, El Dorado, the narco era, the great national team of the 1990s, the Copa America triumph of 2001, which we'll talk about in another episode of the show. And remarkably, we have another example right now. FIFA President Gianni Infantino was just in Cali for the inauguration of Colombia's new president, Abelardo de Espriella, while Infantino himself is fighting the deepest governance crisis of his presidency. His abandoned proposal to sell a stake in FIFA's World Cup commercial business triggered a revolt inside the game. UEFA says it no longer has confidence in him. CONMEBOL, by contrast, has defended the principle that any challenge to him must go through FIFA's member associations. So 78 years after Colombian politics and football shared the stage in 1948, the president of FIFA is standing at a presidential inauguration in Colombia, while football politics rage around him. Some things change, and some relationships endure. Before we go, 3 things to take away from August 15, 1948. First, Colombian professional football was not born from nowhere. It emerged from decades of regional development, a struggle over who controlled the game, growing commercial demand, and the determination of people like Humberto Salcedo and Alfonso Senior. Second, Fecha Uno created more than a championship. It created the national football marketplace that, within a year, would make El Dorado possible. And third, Colombian football has never existed outside Colombian history. From Gaitán and La Violencia, through El Dorado and the narco era, to the politics surrounding FIFA today, the game has repeatedly reflected the country, and sometimes the world around it. On this day in 1948, Rafael Serna scored a penalty at a racetrack outside Medellín. Atlético Municipal beat Universidad 2-0. 10 clubs began Colombia's first professional championship, and Dimayor kicked off a story that Colombia is still writing. That's all for episode 288 of OTD, your daily dose of soccer history by 17 Lost Guy. I'm grateful for your support and ideas. I'm hitting a nerve with this show. That's what the emails tell me. If you share with all your friends, hit the subscribe button. Send me more ideas for future episodes. That will help this show grow. Tomorrow, we go to Argentina in 1936. Fermín Lecea tackles Arturo Arrieta. Arrieta's leg is fractured. And then something rather unusual happens to Lecea. He gets arrested. Stay tuned.